Please keep it going for Chuck, everyone.
Thank you. So I really didn't have much of a story to tell. I was thinking all day, what I have a Fright Night story? No, I really don't have a Fright Night story. And I came up and Jim said, yeah, I could really use some help. I need a story. And, didn't anything frightening happen to you when you were in Italy? And I just spent eight days in Italy, and it was really a wonderful time. I'm really relaxed. And then I remembered, reading my news feed that, Justice Kavanaugh was going to be nominated to the Supreme Court. And I thought, what the fuck? God damn it. We're sliding into the Handmaid's Tale now for the next 20 fucking years? And that was pretty fucking scary. And then I went down, had dinner with my friend, and, had a half a carafe of really nice house wine for $6 and a really sweet meal. And I forgot all about it. So I'm really not telling the story about Justice Kavanaugh. I'm going to tell, and then I remembered, that maybe the most frightening night of my life was the night I had to tell my mom and dad I had flunked out of LaSalle High School. That was pretty scary. This was 50 years ago, June 12th, when my grades came, and I'm the oldest of at that time 10 children, and I've never been. I never considered myself the bright and shining light of my parents' eyes. And when you flunk out of high school, college prep school, you realize, you're just another fuck up like all the other kids in the room. And you're really not a bright and shining light at all. So this is a story about dealing with failure, and probably the scariest night of my life, because I really didn't think when I flunked out of LaSalle that I was college material, and that meant I was probably going to go to Vietnam and get my ass shot. So the grades came. And thank God, my brother Paul, who was 2 years younger than me, got his grades and had opened them earlier in the day, and he had also flunked out. So there was a little bit of support there, but I was 2 years older and a junior at the time, and I really did think, had passed all my classes. So, my mom and dad were there, and all my brothers and sisters. I'd come in from doing 2 rounds of caddying at Old York Road. I was exhausted, but I'd made, $20, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. And opened my grades, and, I was never a very good student, but I felt like I was probably going to pass and go on to senior year, and I had 2 Fs, one in French and one in chemistry. And if it came down to me listening, I have ADD problems, and I didn't know this until many years later when I had a really good counselor that asked me to read a book called Driven by Distraction. And I realized I had some learning disabilities, and my mind tends to wander when I'm not engaged in the material I'm supposed to be studying. So learning 50 French vocabulary words when a Phillies game was on was pretty damn fucking hard, So I mean, voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir would have come in really handy, especially since I went to college in New Orleans, but I didn't really know what it meant, and I didn't care to learn it. And, I understand everybody should sort of have a rudimentary understanding of the periodic table, but I could care less. So I flunked these 2 classes, and I knew that this meant I probably was going to be expelled from LaSalle. And my mom said, well, just go to summer school and make up the classes, and maybe they'll let you back. Well, I knew there was no fucking way they were going to let me back into LaSalle. So I did go to summer school, and at Cardinal Doherty, and my mom had to drive me down there, from Ambler, and it was like a 35-minute drive to North Philadelphia, and all the other fuck-ups from Judge and Cardinal Doherty and McDevitt, and they were all there, and they were all cutting up, and I was really respectful, and the nun really liked me, and I ended up with, getting like a 90 in chemistry. I didn't know any of it, and a 95 in French, and I couldn't even count to 10 in French. So I made an appointment to go see Brother Edward, the principal, LaSalle, and that was also a pretty scary moment. And I went in and said, Brother Edward, I thought I had passing grades, in all of my classes, and my report card, indicated that I got 2 Fs, an F in French and an F in chemistry. That's right, Charles. You got an F in chemistry and an F in French. And I said, well, could you tell me what my grades were in those 2 classes? And he said, yes. You got a 69 in French and a 69 in chemistry, and passing was 70. So I flunked out by 2 points. So I said, well, Brother Edward, could I see my final exams? Because I thought I did pretty good in my final exam. Well, no, we don't do that at LaSalle. So I wasn't allowed to see any kind of proof. I just had to take it on his word that I had flunked out. So I ended up going to Upper Dublin High School, and about a week into the semester, in the fall semester at Upper Dublin, I got a call from one of my friends at LaSalle, and he said, Chuck, I thought I was the only one that had, the unfortunate circumstance of dealing with this tragedy in my life, and he said, no, there was like 20% of the junior class flunked out. They just systematically weeded out the bottom 20% of the class. And this was 1968, and in hindsight, there was a lot of bad shit coming down. We were in the middle of Vietnam. Kids were coming to the school mixers, smoking dope and drinking beer, and I just thought they thought, the brothers that were running the school thought probably these kids are not going to make it into college. And that was their big sort of selling point. 98% of the graduates of LaSalle College High School graduated from college. So I went on to miraculously got into Loyola University and really struggled to find my way and to get through school. And the coda of this story is that for some odd reason, my mom and dad decided to send Mark, a younger brother who's 10 years younger than me, to LaSalle High School. And this 10 years later, he also flunked out of high school. Now, at LaSalle, after 3 years, like me. So at that point, my mom had become politicized, and she went down to talk to the principal. And she said, you took our money for 3 years, and then you kicked my son out. And then you took my money for our money for 3 years, and now you're about to kick my youngest son out. If you don't let him back into this school, we're going to hire a lawyer and come after you. Mrs. Bauerlein, no problem. We'll have Mark back in school. So out of the 11 children that my mom and dad raised, Mark is the only one that doesn't have a college degree.